Pregame.com.
Pregame.tv, welcome back. I am Steve Fezzik with Bryan Leonard. We're going to be talking 3 NBA games here. And our first game, if we can find the right cameras to speak into, are going to be the Spurs. Had a little technical issue last week. Spurs, Cavs, Spurs on the rodeo trip, Bryan, rolling along as they always do, right?
I had a little problem with you. Did very well last week. I'm looking at the wrong cameras, and maybe if I looked at the right camera, I'd pick more winners.
That's because Cade spent all his time with me because he knows I'm new, and I keep looking at the wrong camera.
You would figure the guy that's been here for a while would have figured that out, you know.
I gave you poor cues. I'm supposed to cue you and where to go, and I'm just worried about my own stuff.
There you go. This is one of my favorite situations coming in and out of the All-Star break. I like to play on veteran teams that have something to prove, a goal at the end of the year. San Antonio knows they're going to be in the playoffs. I like the way they've been playing. They've won 4 out of the 5 on this road trip. The only time they lost was at Detroit. But you got a situation here with San Antonio. A lot of their players have been in and out of the lineup. I don't like that. But with the aging team that San Antonio has, this is going to benefit them when the playoffs start. But you have a team right now that if you follow a team like a San Antonio, a team that's in the playoffs every year, a Boston, those type of teams, they go into the break, they come out of the break very strongly. They're playing a young Cleveland team right here. Cleveland has been playing very well lately. After the trades, they've really strengthened the bench. But you got a Cleveland team, they're not going to the playoffs. They've got a week coming off that they're going to go on vacation, basically. And I could talk bad about Cleveland. I used to live in Cleveland.
We all can.
There you go. And but you could see the mental aspect of Cleveland right now. In fact, the last 2 games they have lost at home. Last game against Minnesota, they just didn't have an effort. They were beating them up and down the court, and they quit running. And when they run against a team like San Antonio, that's not a good thing. And I expect them to come out and run because that's what cost them the game against Minnesota. So you got a San Antonio team that on the rodeo road trip, they always do very well. And they're going into the break on a purpose. Cleveland just can't wait for this game to get over with so they can get a vacation day.
Well, what I liked about San Antonio is that they rested everybody, their big 3, not everybody, and then Splitter and the other stiffs came out and just split apart, you know, the team that they're playing. And that's amazing. They open up 1.5 against the Bulls, and they wound up getting 3.5 at post, and then they just clobber the Bulls. And I have to talk about Monday night in the NBA because it was historic in terms of the underdogs went 7-1 straight up, and a lot of them were getting 8, 9 points. You know, Indiana lost as a 9.5-point favorite. And what was remarkable about that is if ever there was a night where you think the dogs would do lousy, it was a night where the money poured in on the favorites with a lot of injury information, the like, such as with the Spurs game. And, you know, Cleveland against Minnesota, they got all the money. They went up to 7.5. And it was just an absolute bloodbath for people fading who are following the steam. And it was a bonanza for people, you know, money line parlay bettors with dogs.
Yeah, Indiana was another one that went, I believe, 7.5 up to 9.5. You rarely see a 2-point move in the NBA, but we saw just about every game that night. It was just 2
all on the favorites.
All on the favorites, and the dogs just had a great day. And you know, hats off to anybody who played them on the money line. I don't play a lot of dog money lines and parlays and that kind of thing, but there's people out there I'm sure did very well.
You know, that one thing about basic betting strategy that I always like to utilize, when I see a dog like a spread drops from 10 down to 8, it's extremely rare I'm looking to lay the 8s because I figure, well, that's all smart money, and I don't want to get in the way of that, and I miss the +10. I usually just stay on the sidelines. But when I see the steam go from -8 to -10, I call that the good story steam, where maybe it made sense to lay the 8, even the 8.5. But at some point, now the people who are just getting to the party late and they're coming in too late and laying 9.5, and they're just pushing this so far, I think you got to take something back at that point in time. And so I wish I would have done that on Monday night. I actually didn't. But a lot of times I'm the guy who's getting ahead of the line moves, and I went 1-1 that night. I consider that to be like a tremendous night given how those line moves wound up playing out.
Yeah, I made a comment about parlays, and one of the reasons I don't like to play parlays is you have to have the best line at the exact same time on 2 different games at the exact same book.
Right. So often you're getting rooked by half a point, and when you play a 2-teamer that's at 13-5, you're already laying 111.4 instead of 110 on each on each leg. So I only like to play the parlays when, like, some sports books will give me a 2-teamer at 14-5, because then I'm laying like -105.5 on each leg, or if you can get a 3-teamer at 6.5, you know, 2-1, not 4-1, then you're laying less than minus $1.10. But we're just going to make a straight bet on this game. This is actually your best bet, correct?
This will be my best bet.
And you're from Cleveland, and I'm sure you would. The mercenary in you is going to come out. Go ahead and tell everybody who you're going to like in this game.
All right, looking at the correct camera this week, let's pick a winner. I've got San Antonio. I like veteran teams going into the All-Star break. I like the situation with the next 5 days off for San Antonio. You can get some of the players back into the lineup. No reason to rest them here because you do have the next 5 days off. I like the moves that Cleveland's made as of late, picking up some of the real strong bench players. They're fitting in really well, but I think they're going to be better after the break when they get a few days, extra days to practice after the break here. I think Cleveland's going to be a play-on team the rest of the way, but in this game right here, I like San Antonio, and I think it's pretty cheap going into the break. We'll take San Antonio as my best bet.
Although I agree with your best bet here, one thing you said that I don't know if I agree with you says that Cleveland's going to keep getting better and better after the break, and I worry when you get a team that's playing pretty well, that's a garbage team, and now they kind of feel they got their mojo back and they get 7 days off. I can only imagine the trouble this team's going to get into on their time off. Doesn't that worry you? Well,
you've got a lot of guys that just joined the team, haven't had a lot of practice time together. I don't know what the league rules are or whatever, but you're going to have a couple practices before you start out the second half of the season. I think that's going to be beneficial because they played a lot of games in a short amount of time since they've gotten these guys in the lineup. I'm actually surprised how well they have done, and it's unlike some of the other games you play. But in basketball, these guys have played with different players their entire life, pickup games all the way up, and they don't even need to know what the plays are called. They just go out of the
Rudy Gay's like he's the man for Toronto.
There you go.
So very, very much so. Well, we're done with the Cavs. When we return here at pregame.tv, we're going to be breaking down both of the marquee games in the NBA on Thursday. I think we're going to start with the Thunder and the Heat, and that should really be a great matchup. Stay with us at pregame.tv.